Hey, what's going on, everyone? Bass here. So in today's video, we got to go over the PFF grades for the Green Bay Packers shutout win, 17-0 versus the Seattle Seahawks here in Week 10. And if you're new here, basically in this video, we go over the PFF grades. We go over the winners and losers, the winners being the high grades and the losers being the low grades on both offense and defense. So if this is something that interests you, definitely go down and click that subscribe button. Also leave a like on this video. It supports my channel a lot. I do this after every game, every week. So without further ado, I think we just get right into it. And we have to start with the defense on this one, shutting out Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks 17-0. Just an amazing defensive performance. So we definitely have to start with the defense here. And number one on this list is Adrian Amos. He was the highest graded defender this week and also his highest grade of the year. Amos had a 92.5 overall grade, a 61.4 run defense, 35.6 tackle, and a 90.9 coverage grade. Amos had 3 tackles, which included 1 missed. And in coverage, he allowed 2 receptions on 6 targets for only 10 yards. He had 2 pass breakups and the 1 interception in the end zone there. Almost had 2 interceptions. When he came down with the second one, ball popped out. And he allowed a quarterback rating of 2.8. And Adrian Amos just has been so good this year. This was easily his best game, as I said. But these Packers safeties have been playing at such a high level in recent weeks. So I think that's a lot of the reason why the Packers defense is excelling, and there's more to it, obviously, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, such as the 4-man rush, getting home and whatnot. But to have 2 very quality safeties there on the back end that can cover a lot of ground and can really stop those shot plays, those deep balls, definitely helps this defense out so much. Amos has been playing so well, as is Darnell Savage. As for second on this list, we have Kevin King. He was the second highest graded Packer defender this week and also had the highest grade of his career. Kevin King had a 91.9 overall grade, 72.8 tackle grade, and a 91.9 coverage grade. King only allowed 2 receptions on 4 targets for 10 yards, also had an interception, and allowed a quarterback rating of 16.7. And if we look here, his last 3 games, although one being week 5 and then obviously he was injured until week 9, if you look at his last 3 games, he's played very, very well. You see week 5 in Cincinnati, a 76.2, week 9 in Kansas City, a 79.2, and then obviously this week, a 91.9. And Kevin King has been playing really well. And as of now, since that last game, he is now actually the highest graded Packers cornerback, just above Jair. Now, obviously, Jair hasn't played in so long, but I think he has a 75 something around there. And now Kevin King has that average of a 76.0 grade. And people love to hate on Kevin King. It's almost, if you talk about anything about defensive backs, or cornerbacks in general, there's always people in the comments, oh, cut Kevin King, cut Kevin King. And the fact of the matter is, he's been playing really well his last 3 games. Now, he does have to stay healthy. That's always been a gripe on his career, but he's definitely providing a lot to this defense. And if he continues up this play, this defense will continue to play good. So for the last defensive winners, I'm going to go with both the edge rushers, Rashaan Gary and Preston Smith here. Now, they both did grade high. They were 3rd and 4th in terms of defense. Gary with a 79.1 and Preston with a 78.4. The reason I'm bunching them together is because they totaled 14 pressures together and 2 sacks. Now, Rashaan Gary had 4 pressures and Preston had 10. But in general, the Packers team as a whole pressured Russell Wilson a ton. They had 34 pressures altogether. And to put that into perspective, last week when Kansas City played us, when it seemed like Jordan Love was pressured every single time, Kansas City had 28 pressures last week. We had 34 this week against Russell. It just doesn't look like it sometimes because Russell Wilson is so damn fast and can get out of the pocket so quickly. But as I was saying earlier, a big part to this defense, why it's doing so well, is the Joe Barry system, and that's mainly bringing 4-man pressure pretty much every single play. And the reason the defense is doing so well is because this 4-man pressure is getting home. If you can get home with 4 guys against 5 linemen most of the time, your defense is going to play good. And that's exactly what they're doing. Rashaan Gary's been playing great. Hopefully he's all good to go. I know he's going to be wearing that arm brace with his hyperextended elbow. Preston Smith's been playing great. It sucks to hear about Whitney Merciless, so the Packers might have to add someone from the outside, and hopefully Zadarius Smith can come back ASAP. Now, as for the defensive losers, everyone in this game pretty much played well. So I'm going to keep this very short. Now, there are some lower grades for a couple players, but in my eyes, both of them played pretty well, one of which being Rasul Douglas. He was the lowest graded Packer at a 51.1, but I thought he honestly played pretty well. He had 4 tackles. He's always physical in the tackle spectrum. You always see him making, very, very physical hits. He did allow 4 receptions, but that's on 7 targets and only for 27 yards, and his quarterback rating allowed was 65.8, so very low there as well. And I think all the DBs in this game just played excellent. And then second, we have Dean Lowry here. He was the second lowest graded Packer, so I'm going to mention it. He had a 55.0 overall grade, but Dean Lowry had 3 pressures and 1 tackle. He also had 3 pressures, and if you look at his over the weeks here, he's had 3 pressures 4 weeks in a row, and then the 2 before that he had 4 pressures. So I thought he also played pretty well, and he's been a big part of this defense and why it's been playing so well too, because Dean Lowry's taken a step up this year and he's been playing pretty damn well. Now flipping it over to the offense, which truly struggled at first. I mean, we were looking at a 0-0, then a 3-0 game for a while, up until the point where it started snowing, so that was just A.J. Dillon activating his NFL Street game breaker and all of a sudden just going beast mode. So A.J. Dillon is the highest graded Packer on offense this week. He had an 83.3 overall grade, an 83.6 receiving grade, and an 80.6 running grade. He had 21 rushes for 66 yards and obviously those 2 touchdowns. He had 58 yards after contact, and I have to keep saying this. He reminds me so much of Eddie Lacy, where even if he gets hit at the line of scrimmage, the dude's still gaining 4 yards. Like, it seems no matter what, he's pushing that pile and gaining an extra 2 yards, 3 yards every single play after contact, and he's just been so good at it. And A.J. Dillon also had 2 receptions for 62 yards, obviously just using him so much more in the passing game, as I was saying, all offseason, and is providing so much for this offense. And obviously he's going to have to carry majority of the workload the next 2 weeks with Aaron Jones being out before our bye week. I would assume he's out both of those weeks, but I think it's great to have someone like A.J. Dillon in this situation because he is a starter-capable back in this league, and I think the Packers running offense will be fine with him. So second up on the offensive winners, I think the world must be ending here because we have Royce Newman. If you're a frequent watcher of this series, you will know that Royce Newman is pretty much on the offensive losers week every single week for probably about 8 out of 9 weeks this year. He was the highest graded offensive lineman for the Packers this week and also second highest to overall on offense. He had a 76.8 overall grade, 72.2 run block grade, and a 77.6 pass block grade. Royce Newman allowed 1 pressure, and the Packers only allowed 4 pressures as a team whole, so definitely a lot better than last week. The O-line played well. They played really well this game. They protected Aaron Rodgers well. Definitely Royce Newman's best graded game all year, as you see here with a 76.8. His next best, which was the only other 70-plus game, was Week 5 against Cincinnati. Now, I'm still on the train that I think Royce Newman should go back to the bench when Myers and Bakhtiari are back. I think he just needs a little bit more time to develop. And I never said Royce Newman's not going to be a quality lineman in the near future, but I think he just needs a little bit more time to develop. And lastly, for the offensive losers, we have Billy Turner. Got to show Billy Turner some love here. He was the 3rd highest graded Packer on offense this week. He had a 72.5 overall grade, a 71.4 pass block grade, and a 70.4 run block grade. Billy Turner also allowed 1 pressure, and he's been super solid all year. It's kind of one of those guys you have on the offensive line you don't really talk about much, but that's also a good thing, really just holding down the right tackle spot there. Ever since the Packers signed him, there was a lot of doubters about Billy Turner saying, they signed him for too much. He's not a starting tackle. I know he started at guard, and they just, a lot of people didn't think he'd be anything great, and he's been very, very solid for this Packers offensive line since coming here. Now for the offensive losers, first on this list, we do have Allen Lazard. He was the lowest graded Packer this week. He had a 46.4 overall grade, which included a 49.6 receiving grade. He only had 1 reception on his 4 total targets for 6 yards. And I would assume the drops he had definitely lowered his grade big time in this game. It's his lowest graded game all year with that 46.4. And overall, just not a good receiving game from him. I definitely expected a lot more from Allen Lazard this year. He's doing wonderful in the blocking game. They're kind of using him as an inline tight end at this point, which is great to see. I love seeing some Allen Lazard blocking, but I did expect a little more from him in the receiving game. But the Packers have so many talented receivers that they can spread the ball around, and of course they're always going to target Davante Adams. But as I said, I did expect a little bit more. And lastly, we have Aaron Rodgers. He was the 2nd lowest graded Packer on offense this week. Just a shaky game for him, presumably just some rust. He didn't practice all week. He wasn't in the team building until Saturday evening, so you can't really blame it. He is a veteran, and you don't expect no practice to really affect him that much, but it seemed like it did. He had a 47.3 overall grade with a 44.5 passing grade. Aaron Rodgers went 23 for 37, 62. That's a 62.2 completion percentage. He had 292 yards, no touchdowns, and of course that one interception to Jamal Adams, which not even going to comment on how much of a clown Jamal Adams is, but yeah. Just a weird Aaron Rodgers play that interception was, where he escaped the pocket, and usually you would see him either run or throw to a wide open guy after, extending the play that much, but he kind of just lofted it up before getting hit, just like a prayer into the end zone, into double coverage, and it was a very easy interception for Jamal Adams there. Now, Aaron Rodgers did have 3 drops on throws this week, so that definitely affects his grade, his passer rating, his completion percentage. So he didn't, like as I said, he didn't get to practice all week. Just after coming back from COVID, maybe he was feeling still a little, under the weather or whatever. If you don't move for a whole week, you're not in an active mindset, so that could definitely affect him as well. But overall, I'm not worried about him. So that about does it for the grades this week. The Packers shut out the Seattle Seahawks 17-0. Russell Wilson's first ever shutout in 150 career starts. The Packers defense is legit. They're a top 5, hell, maybe even a top 3 defense right now. They're playing lights out on defense. Let's bring on the Minnesota Vikings next week. And on that note, I'll catch you on the next one. As always, go Pack Go.